In the heart of the unforgiving Mongolian steppes, a legend was born, one whose name would echo through the annals of history as a symbol of unrivaled power, fear, and ambition. Genghis Khan, a man whose destiny was forged through blood, struggle, and an indomitable will to conquer. His empire would stretch from the Pacific Ocean to the heart of Europe, reshaping the world forever. But how did a child born into a fractured, destitute tribe rise to become the most feared leader the world had ever seen? His story is one of incredible resilience, visionary leadership, and ruthless determination, filled with betrayal, loss, and brutal conquest that would carve his name into history. Born in 1162, Temujin, later known as Genghis Khan, entered a world already plagued by constant warring. The Mongol tribes, which roamed the vast steppes of Central Asia, were fractured, each tribe seeking dominance over the other. The environment was harsh, and survival often depended on strength, loyalty, and cunning. His father, Yasuge, a respected chieftain, was poisoned by a rival tribe when Temujin was just 9 years old. This left the young boy and his family in a vulnerable position. His mother, Holdun, had to fight to protect and feed her children, scraping by in a world where betrayal was commonplace and life was cheap. This early exposure to the brutal realities of the world would shape Temujin into a leader like no other. But even in the face of adversity, Temujin's spirit remained unbroken. While many would have crumbled, he displayed a remarkable resilience. His early years were marked by the struggle to survive, not only against external enemies, but also within his own family and tribe. After the death of his father, Temujin's family was cast out and forced to live as outcasts, struggling to find food and shelter. Yet Temujin learned the art of survival, quickly developing the skills of a hunter, warrior, and strategist, as well as a deep understanding of the complexities of loyalty and betrayal. Through these formative experiences, he began to recognize the importance of uniting the Mongol tribes. To him, the disarray among them was both an obstacle and an opportunity. As he grew into his teenage years, Temujin began to form bonds with other tribes, forging alliances and challenging rivals. However, it was not enough for him to simply be a warrior. He knew that in order to lead, he had to unite the Mongol tribes, a people notorious for their fractiousness. His most notable early alliance was with a man named Jamukha, a former blood brother. But soon, a deep betrayal would split them apart. Despite their shared history, Jamukha turned against Temujin, leading his forces against him. In the ensuing battle, Temujin was defeated. But this only fueled his ambition. He escaped capture and vowed revenge, learning valuable lessons about leadership, strategy, and trust. Through both diplomacy and force, Temujin began to build a loyal following. His ability to inspire fierce loyalty among his men was legendary. While other leaders relied on brute force and fear, Temujin understood the importance of morale and unity. He promised rewards for loyalty and punishments for betrayal. His approach to leadership was rooted in meritocracy, rewarding individuals based on their ability rather than their birthright. This idea was revolutionary in the Mongol world, where leadership was often inherited. As a result, he began to gather a devoted army, which would one day become one of the most fearsome military forces the world had ever known. In 1206, after years of struggle, Temujin achieved his ultimate goal. He was proclaimed Genghis Khan, or universal ruler by the Mongol tribes. His rise to power marked the beginning of a new era. By uniting the Mongols under a single banner, Genghis Khan had laid the foundation for one of the largest empires in history. But Genghis Khan was not satisfied with ruling the steppes. His vision extended far beyond the horizon toward the great civilizations of the world. He understood that, in order to cement his power, he had to expand his empire. And so, with an army of fierce warriors, he set his sights on the vast lands of China, Persia, and Central Asia. Now, of Genghis Khan's greatest strengths was his military genius. He revolutionized warfare, creating an army that was not only highly disciplined but also remarkably innovative. He introduced new tactics and strategies, such as the use of psychological warfare, feigned retreats, and highly coordinated attacks that overwhelmed his enemies. His soldiers were known for their speed, mobility, and ferocity. Riding on horseback and using bow and arrow with deadly precision, the Mongol army moved like a storm across the lands it conquered, striking fear into the hearts of all who heard its thunderous approach. Perhaps one of his most well-known campaigns was the conquest of the Khwarezmian Empire in the early 13th century. After a disastrous diplomatic incident, Genghis Khan ordered the complete annihilation of the empire. Entire cities were leveled and the population was massacred. It is said that Genghis Khan's forces killed more than 1 million people in their campaign of terror. His ruthlessness was matched only by a sense of strategy. The destruction of the Khwarezmian Empire sent a clear message to the world: cross Genghis Khan, and there would be no mercy. But Genghis Khan's empire was not built solely on destruction. He understood the importance of trade, culture, and knowledge. His empire became a conduit for the exchange of ideas, goods, and technologies between the East and the West. The Silk Road, which had long been a fragmented network of trade routes, was now united under the rule of the Mongols. This allowed goods such as silk, spices, and precious metals to flow more freely across Asia and Europe, fostering economic growth. The Mongols also promoted religious tolerance, allowing various faiths to coexist within the empire. This policy helped to maintain peace and stability across a vast multicultural domain. As Genghis Khan's empire grew, so did his ambitions. His influence reached far beyond the battlefield. Under his rule, the Mongols developed an extensive communication system which allowed them to relay messages across vast distances in a fraction of the time it would normally take. He implemented a code of laws known as the Yasa, which helped to govern his diverse and sprawling empire. His vision of an interconnected world, where cultures and peoples could coexist and thrive together, began to take shape. By the time of his death in 1227, Genghis Khan had achieved the unthinkable. He had created an empire that spanned from the Pacific Ocean to the Caspian Sea, encompassing vast regions of China, Central Asia, Persia, and even parts of Eastern Europe. His empire, at its peak, was the largest contiguous empire in history. But even in death, his influence would continue. His descendants, particularly his grandsons Kublai Khan and Hulagu Khan, would carry his legacy forward, expanding the empire even further and solidifying the Mongol dynasty's place in history. Yet, despite his enormous success, Genghis Khan's life was marked by tragedy and loss. His beloved wife, Borte, stood by him through countless trials, and together they had several children. His sons and daughters would play crucial roles in the future of the Mongol Empire. However, Genghis Khan's personal life was not without its challenges. He suffered tremendous personal losses, including the death of his eldest son, Jibet, and the betrayal of close allies. These losses fueled his drive for power but also shaped his character, making him both a visionary leader and a deeply flawed man. The legacy of Genghis Khan is complex. On one hand, he is remembered as a ruthless conqueror whose campaigns led to the deaths of millions. On the other, he is recognized as a visionary who created one of the most prosperous and influential empires in history. His ability to unite the Mongols, his military genius, and his policies of trade and cultural exchange laid the groundwork for a new world order. Genghis Khan's empire may have crumbled after his death, but his impact on history remains undeniable. As we reflect on Genghis Khan's life, we are reminded of the delicate balance between power and cruelty, ambition and responsibility. His rise from the poverty of the steppes to the ruler of an empire that spanned continents is a story of extraordinary achievement. and it serves as a reminder that history's greatest figures are often defined by their ability to overcome adversity and leave an indelible mark on the world.